What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for being here today. I thought today would be a great day to do a series review with you guys. So I did just literally finish reading this series less than a minute and a half ago. Literally just finished the 5th book in this series. There has obviously been a very large upkick of the Zodiac Academy being talked about and read on the internet for quite some time now. I know it's very loved or hated. There's a lot of mixed reviews on it, but I know for the most part people are definitely pushing towards reading that series. And so the reading orders are often described the same throughout the internet. When I've heard about it, everyone always recommends read the first 3 books of Zodiac Academy. And then once you get into the world of Solaria, which is where this universe is set in, then you're supposed to read the 5 books of the Ruthless Boys series, which is the 5 books that predate the Zodiac Academy, introducing important characters that will later on show up throughout the Zodiac Academy. And there are also people who say you can read this series in publication order, which is to start with the Zodiac Academy and then read Ruthless Boys and then read Darkmoor Penitentiary. Altogether, this world consists of 24 books at this point, 23 in the original set, and then a new book has just been released for the 24th book. This is a series that is written by 2 authors, Miss Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti, and I thought it might be fun to talk about the Ruthless Boys series. That being said, for those that are new here, welcome. My name is Jaya. I put out videos regarding book-related content every Sunday and Wednesday. So if that is something that is interesting to you, or you do like books or talk about books or book-related merch and things like that, then you are definitely in the right place. Definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. For those of you who are returning, welcome back to the videos. Thank you so much for being here. Wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, and I so appreciate having such a wonderful book-loving community to talk to about these books. Now, I do want to say, before I get into my thoughts on these books, that I think it's phenomenal when any author publishes a book. I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to put thoughts on paper and go through the entire process that's required, from creating the content to editing the content to have someone, actually put together the artistic cover and everything else, and then publish these books, sell these books, create a fandom for these books. So any review that I give, whether it's positive or negative, is not an attack on the authors in any way, shape, or form. I fully appreciate the amazing accomplishment that they have. 24 books is not a joke. That's a lot of books that have been written in this world, and it has a fandom and a base. So I fully appreciate that. And I do also want to preface this video by saying I am thoroughly enjoying Zodiac Academy. It took a lot of effort for me to stop reading the 3rd book to pick these up instead, because I was very invested in the world of Solaria and in the world of the Zodiac Academy. I love those characters, really enjoyed reading about them. The 1st book in that series was extremely traumatic for me. I actually cried at many points during the book. For those who don't know, that is a bully romance series. Basically, 2 twin fae girls who are brought from the mortal world into this academy with no understanding of who they are, their background, their power, and they are basically brutally ganged up on by 4 celestial heirs who are basically the sons of the rulers of Solaria, and the daughters are the princesses who are now back, and there's concern they're going to try and claim their throne. So it's a very aggressive bullying that occurs. The teachers don't do anything about it. Sometimes the teachers are involved in the bullying. So if you're looking for powers of authority to make a difference and stop what's happening, they don't. It's very overwhelming. The 1st book I cried, and I literally remember saying this is a 2-star book. I don't understand how anyone could possibly read this. It's so awful. And I'm actually kind of sort of tandem reading this this with another friend of mine, and she was saying, I promise it gets better. So then I read the second book in that series, loved it, thought it was absolutely hilarious. It was so much fun to read. I'm not going to say anything more than that because I don't want to ruin anything. The third book was even better, and I really, really love that we're getting into the meat of the story. This is a total of 9 books in this series, not including the novellas, and I believe there's 5 novellas on top of that, so quite a few number of books within that Zodiac Academy series. So the reason why people say you take a break at book 3 and read the Ruthless Boys series is because these characters are seen thereafter in the later books within the Zodiac Academy. This is now going to bring us into my review of Ruthless Boys. I do want to tell you that I was not in love with these characters, so I understand if a lot of people are angry, and I do sincerely apologize if this is one of your favorite series. I am not judging. I'm not saying anything like that. I think it deserves its fandom. It deserves, being praised. It just necessarily wasn't for me. And the reason I say that is because this is a reverse harem romance. So basically one main female lead character with 4 male characters for the romance. The thing about this series that frustrated me is I hate the female lead character. Truly, 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 truly cannot respect or care for the female lead character. And my heart went out to these boys. Like, I love the male characters in this book. There may be some spoilers moving forward, so if you do want to stop here, I will give you this little tidbit and then end on this note before I get into the spoiler section. So essentially, this series is following the story of this girl coming to school to try to figure out what happened to her brother. Her brother is marked as dead. No one knows why, no one knows how. He is the only family she really has, and she comes into this as a whodunit kind of series. We're trying to figure out who caused the death of her brother. In the course of this, there is initial thoughts that these 4 main male characters may have been the cause of her brother's death. So she starts by looking into that and then slowly putting puzzle pieces together. It's a very, very highly emotionally connected component of the story. You are also getting parts of the storyline of what happened before he disappeared from the brother himself. So these books are told from multiple different perspectives. You have Elise, who is the main female character. And then you have the 4 male lead characters, who are Leon, Dante, Ryder, and Gabriel. And then you also have a point of view that belongs to Gareth, who is the brother that has been marked as missing, and no one really knows what happened. So essentially, Elise comes into this school looking for what happened to her brother, and the books take off from there. It does have a very whodunit kind of mystery vibe. There's gang rival wars that are going on in this book as well. A lot of power struggles. Definitely an adult book. You get a lot of spice in this series too. So if you're looking for spice, this is like very, very, very spicy. I would say solid 4 to 4.5 level spice. It is a reverse harem. So anyways, any combinations you can think of that happening, it happens. So be ready for that if that's something you're interested in. If you are looking for a closed door romance, but you do want to get into this world, I'm also here to tell you that you can skip every single one of those scenes and not miss any of the main content of the book. In fact, it feels like a lot of those scenes are just there to be there. So that being said, I'm going to tell anyone who is not interested in continuing into spoilers to go ahead and stop the video here. I want to thank you again for tuning in and hearing what I had to say. I would give this overall series a 3-star rating. I don't think it was the worst series in the world. I just don't think it was the best series in the world. I do think that Zodiac Academy has more promise to offer than this series does. But again, that is my humble personal opinion based on what I like to read, the type of romances I like, the type of fantasy I like, and all that good stuff. So please don't take it as me insulting the authors or anything like that. That is not at all what I'm trying to say. This is my personal opinion of these books. That being said, thank you so much for joining me. Please stop now if you don't want spoilers. For those who are continuing with this video, who know what happens, I will come back to saying, I cannot stand Elise. The number of times she goes on and on and on about how she's trying to figure out who murdered Gareth, and instead somehow ends up falling into the bed of one of the male characters is honestly disheartening. It's very hard to respect her. Like, I don't respect her as a sleuth. I don't respect her as someone who's actually trying to find out the truth. I have absolutely a very hard time appreciating her grief, because I feel like her grief is very easily pushed aside when it is convenient for her, and that really frustrates me. I also think she's kind of a mean girl. Like, yes, she did stick up for Eugene, which is great and it's nice to see, but she's not exactly nice to the Mindys that are allowed around Leon, right? Like, she doesn't really go out of her way to become cozy with Rosalie or any of the other characters we get to see here and there. She also comes across very much as a loner, and I know they kind of explain that with the vampire behavior, but for those who have read Zodiac Academy, like, Orion's not like that. Orion definitely has a loner tendency, but he's very, very close to, you know, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name now. Tori's whatever. But like, honestly, I love how he is with the Vega twins. Like, he, at the end of the day, can be very ruthless, and he does believe that the celestial heirs are supposed to rule, but he at least has some form of innate sense of justice, which is nice to see. Elise comes off as like someone who's untrained, untethered, broken. She comes across as someone who's just angry all the time and is constantly seeking like bloodlust for the death of her brother. She's terrible at sleuthing out what's actually happening, and the only thing that seems to pull her back from herself is her sex drive, which, I'm sorry, that's not enough for me in a female character. I need more. For you to have 4 extremely wonderful, spectacular men pining over you, dying for you, like literally supposedly be written in the stars for you because of all the pain and suffering you've gone through, grow up. You know what I mean? Like, I just need her to grow up. And I do have a theory that maybe she was written that way to be kind of shallow and not really have much of a shape to her, because maybe the author was hoping that, you know, other people could put themselves in the position of the girl. I don't know. But all I can say is I was extremely, extremely, extremely frustrated by Elise's character, and that took away a lot for me from reading this book, to the point that I would actually a lot of times speed read through the sections that were about Elise, because I was getting so frustrated by her point of view, so frustrated by her immaturity, that I was like, I just cannot. And then for her to like constantly use the language, my kings, my men, my kings, my men. I'm like, I understand they're yours. I understand that you love them. I understand that they're your people. You don't possess them. And in the same way, when they're like, oh, our girl, my girl, blah, I'm like, no, she is her own human being. You love each other, you respect each other, you can treat them as equals. There's other ways that you can talk about that, where you express how you feel. I don't even have an opposition towards using the claim of mine. I'm okay with that. Like, I would definitely in public say my husband. Like, I have no issues with that. It's the way she says it, the way she acts about it, like the possessive. I just can't. I think overall she's a naughty brat, and I think it's really sad that throughout the series she is respected for that quality. And when push comes to shove, when she can actually like get up in someone's face and actually show that she has strength, even if it's crass, I don't care. Like Melinda, Altair, nothing. When all of that comes out about her Elysian mates and they want to keep it secret, and she goes and spews this to the whole world, she barely does anything to fight back. And then on top of that, like when you think about, you know, everything that happened with her mom, like the fact that it takes 4 books for her to resolve that situation is extremely frustrating to me. Like, have a conversation with your mom. And when your mom calls you a selfish brat, maybe look in the mirror and think about whether you kind of were a selfish brat or not, you know? I think like it's lovely that Gareth stepped in for her. I love Gareth. I love all the boys in this series. I just don't like Elise. And that, I think, is what took away from me from the series, because I do fall in love with all the boys. And for them to end up with someone as crappy as Elise was angering for me. So that being said, like it got to the point where when I got to the 5th book, I was like, if she dies, I'm okay with it. which is awful, right? Like these boys would be heartbroken if she were to die. And that's literally where I was emotionally. So there is that. Outside of that, let's talk about the boys. So Ryder is probably my favorite just because he's gone through so much trauma and he grows so much throughout the books. If I had seen that same growth in Elise, okay, maybe I could get behind this series. But Elise shows no growth. And then you have Ryder over here who is literally overcoming sexual trauma, sexual abuse, loss of parents, loss of, his brotherhood, loss of power, loss of everything that defines him, for him to actually truly accept love and family and all of these things. And when Elise and him have their divine moment, and when Dante and him have their like bromance moment and their adversarial rivalry is written away, and they actually have their moment with Elise, that was so beautiful. For the boys, what the heck did Elise do? Why does she deserve them? Where was her trials? Where were her tribulations? Gabriel almost dies so that Elise and him can mate, but God forbid she does anything. She's literally like, oh my gosh, I almost killed my own mate. I'm gonna try and heal him now, even though I don't want to get rid of this crazy power that's driving me insane, and I'm the one that nearly sucked him dry, but I'm gonna sit here and cry and be a baby about it because God forbid the universe take my mate from me that I almost killed. By the way, he has been putting up with the fact that she's been shacking up with 3 other men, feeling in the sense of his core that he may not be enough for her, still goes out of his way to save her because he sees a vision. Oh my God, if I don't stop her, no one will. No one will pull her back from this brink of destruction. And he faces that trial and she gets no divine moment. What? I mean, honestly, every single divine moment that happens in this, Leon accepting that it's about being a pride, Leon accepting that he must share his love, he's going to do everything he can to keep her happy, truly being that sunshine ray in her life. Again, beautiful for Leon. What the heck did Elise do? I have a lot of frustrations with Elise's character, in case you can't tell. Lots of pent-up anger there. But I think as far as the boys go, love Gabriel Knox, love Ryder. Their bromance was the funnest part for me to read. I think it was also really cool to see Gabriel kind of grow and come into his moments of being a seer and having his power. Another thing that was really frustrating to me though is that this concept of Elise being so pathetic that if she's not pulled out of that darkest moment and she doesn't release that power and she doesn't selfishly use it to have her closure moment with Garrett, that everything that happens with Lionel and his atrocities could have been avoided. The death of a character could have been avoided. Why do they love this girl? What does she have to offer? In my head, nothing. Also, the way she parents her kids at the end of the book, literally no precautionary tales to her daughter or her son. Literally the fathers are the ones who are overbearing and protective and parental, she almost sounds like she's I'll be the chill mom who's your best friend. Nah, be a mom. But anyways, so Gabriel I think is really awesome too because of his role, and I'm really excited to see his role in the Zodiac series. It was also really cool to watch his friendship with Orion grow, so that was a lot of fun to see. I also think that in general, it will be interesting to see Gabriel's story because it does kind of hint at the fact that once he meets the Vega twins in the Zodiac Academy, that he will have some revelations of his story, his background, where he comes from. So I think that'll be fun to see as well. And then let's talk a little bit about Ryder again. So Ryder, I think, has such a beautiful heart. And I think it's so sad that he's been taught his whole life that he's not allowed to hold on to that heart of his. And so it's just really, really lovely to see him come out of that and actually be able to own his heart. You know what I mean? I love that. Dante I think is the cutest. I love the fact that even though he is a gangster, his family is his whole vibe. I love the fact that he is 100% committed to being there for Rosalie Esquira as well, even though he knows she might overrun him one day and take over his pack in her own right as an alpha. The fact that he doesn't stand in her way, he almost encourages her, was so beautiful to see. The way that he pushes Elise to actually like overcome her sadness and really focus on growing and really focus on finding out what happened with her brother was beautiful to see. The way that he opens his arms to Ryder, his heart to Ryder, like letting go of that hate in order to create an opportunity for there to be peace. Just so much maturity there. And I love the love within his pack. I love that. I love how supportive Bianca is. I love how supportive everyone is. And Bianca is someone who has lost her mate because of Ryder's father. And after everything is explained, like literally gives all of her hate up to welcome this poor boy of her arch enemy into her home because she just sees someone with a broken heart. And I personally feel like when you get to kind of see those hints of who the parents were, you can see it reflected in the children. The other thing I really liked is that Rosalie Escura's character is kind of hinted at, since she's going to be the main lead in the Darkmoor Penitentiary series. It was really cool to see her kind of grow as well and showcase that despite all the pain she'd gone through, where her loyalties lie, what her core values are, her value for family, her respect for Dante, even though she knows that one day she might take over and has the power to take over, she even tells Ryder, like, what the hell do you think I'm going to do? Of course I'm not going to take a pack away from Dante. He'll find me my own pack. I would never do that to my alpha. You know, like just such a beautiful character too. I'm actually excited to read her story, and I'm okay with her story being a reverse harem because I feel like she's gonna be a better female lead. I don't know what to tell you. Elise is useless. That being said, the only one I think I haven't talked about yet is Leon. I love Leon. I love how innocent he is. I love how cute he is. I love how you just want to take him and smush him and cuddle up with him and just give him a big kiss on the cheek because he's such a ray of sunshine. So beautiful. So I think that was all really fun. I also think it was kind of interesting to see the foreshadowing of who Lionel is, what his role is, like how despicable he is, his relations with Clara, knowing the things you know from Zodiac Academy about who he ends up sleeping with while cheating on his wife, and knowing what he was doing to Clara simultaneously. It's just really gross in my humble opinion. I also think it's like kind of interesting to see like the other celestial heirs described. I think it was kind of interesting to see the shadowing of Elise and Caleb kind of getting that friendship back. That is one thing I actually really did enjoy was Caleb and Elise's relationship. That was slightly hinted at, as well as Marcelo, her father, and her kind of bonding as well after everything they've gone through. The other thing that I will say was fun is Warrior Faye. I think the end of the book was really fun, like kind of getting different glimpses of them as parents and like what's going on in their lives, like the weddings and everything else. That was fun to read. I will give them credit for that. I think that was a great way to wrap up the book. It was like a nice little bow with a cherry on top, which was lovely. So overall, I do think it was a fun series to read. I just don't think I can say it was my favorite series to read because I hated one of the main characters. Do I think it's worthwhile reading these books before you read Zodiac Academy? I don't know, because I haven't read Zodiac Academy at its like finishing point yet. From what I heard, all of these characters make a reappearance in the Zodiac Academy series, so I'm excited to see them kind of come back and show their faces, and it might be fun to point them out and be like, oh yeah, there they are, that's what's happened, that's what's going on. So I'm excited for that part, and I'm excited for the tie-in and the crossover. But I think the Ruthless Boys series, if you're going to read it, it's not a bad series. The main thing for me, though, is to understand that it's about the boys and don't expect much from the girl. If you end up liking Elise, that is not a problem. It is absolutely okay to like Elise. It is absolutely okay to be on her side. It is absolutely okay to feel her pain. There are some small redeeming qualities to Elise for me as well. My main frustration with it was the fact that I didn't think she deserved these 4 boys. I think the 4 boys deserve a lot more. I think Gareth deserved a lot more. But yeah, that's my overall take on the series. So altogether, I gave it a 3 stars. As far as each individual book goes, Dark Fae is really the introduction into the world, into the story, into Elise, all these other things. This was a 2-star read for me. Again, didn't like Elise, so it was hard. Book number 2. Book number 2 was Savage Fae. This gets a little bit more interesting. You are now getting into the crux of the whodunit, right? So you're seeing like pieces of Blackcard, you're seeing the the situation with the Killblaze, the drugs that are going around, and the suicidal deaths and everything. So you get a little bit more from that angle. That was interesting to read. I also really liked how this book ended in terms of the cliffhanger between her and Leon. So this book was slightly better to me than Dark Fae. I would give this a 3 stars, nothing higher than that, because again, I think there was a lot left to be imagined for Elise's character. The third book in the series is Vicious Fae. I think Vicious Fae was fun to read. This is probably where the story actually truly started getting interesting to me. There's obviously a major scene at the end of the book where there's actually like an attack. They're actually doing something, and it's fun to see that aspect. So I did enjoy this book. This book, I would give it a solid 3.5 to 4 stars. This was probably one of my most enjoyable ones in the series. I think this book didn't need to be written, quite frankly. I think the main things that happen in this book, you could have condensed it, put it into a novella, and called it a day. This is mostly just sex. And yeah. Anyways, this book I thought was absolutely pointless. I struggled to finish this book. This was a 2-star read for me. Just did not care for it. Lots of pointless cliffhangers, lots of things that weren't going anywhere. So it really frustrated me. I had nothing to say to this book. I was like, why did I have to read this? Why did I waste hours of my time reading this book when it is, how many pages was this book? 691 pages of garbage. 1.5 to 2 stars. Did not like this book. The only redeeming book in this entire series, in my humble opinion, is Warrior Fae. This entire series is very predictable, so if you read the first book and you're like, I kind of already know what's going to happen, and you just want to skip to Warrior Fae, I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. I think that's totally fine. You'll get just as much spice in this. You'll get just as much romance in this. The relationships are already set. You get to see the star-crossed scenes that happen between all the characters. You get the death of you get the death of the king. You get death of, the double crossers and Ryder's gang. You get to see like the marriage. You get to see what happens with them like 10 years later. You get to see the major pitball game against Zodiac Academy. You get to see everything you could possibly want is in this book. So this was probably the only book in the entire series where I would actually give it a 4 to 4.5 stars. This one was actually enjoyable. But again, I was so beaten down after reading this book that by the time I got to this book, I just couldn't enjoy it in the way that I wanted to enjoy it. But I would say that this one was worth the read. This one was enjoyable. This one made me love the characters a little bit more. So overall, I would say it was a much more interesting and fun read. But altogether, I would say that averages out to roughly about a 3-star series altogether. Let me know what you guys thought of the books if you've read them in your comments below. If this inspires you to read them, then I really hope you enjoy them when you read them. I really hope that you guys are able to relate to Elise's character and think she's a wonderful character. I just really struggled with her. I just really, really, really struggled with her and her immaturity. And it takes a lot for me to remember that in this series, she is 18. So maybe I should give her a little bit more, grace. But at least for me, it was a struggle to like her in this series. I think if she comes back in the Zodiac Academy, older, more mature, with more purpose, more strength, more capability, less reactive, less likely to cause issues than actually fix them, then maybe I'll respect her a little bit more. But throughout this series, I just really struggled with her character. Altogether, I really hope that if this does inspire you to read these books, or if you are interested to read these books, you really do enjoy them. And I would love to hear your comments and thoughts on it as well when you get through the series. This is nothing against the authors. This is just my personal feelings on that particular character, as well as how the series played out. That being said, obviously they were interesting enough to keep me captured. I mean, it takes a lot to go through this many pages of books. Like, each of these books are fat. They're like 600 and something odd pages. Also, another fun fact, if you don't want to physically read these books, that is okay. If you happen to have the Kindle app or the Kindle Unlimited plan, which is currently on sale, I believe you can get it for like $4.99. It is available on Kindle. I did actually recently invest in a Kindle as well as a Nook. I've always had a Nook, so this is not new, but I also have now a Kindle, and I like using both of them for different reasons, for different purposes. I will give you guys a video soon enough that talks about my thoughts on Kindle versus Nook and what my preferences are, what I recommend, all that good stuff. But it is available. The Zodiac Academy series, all of the books, all 23 of them are available on Kindle Unlimited if you did want to read it that way. Nook unfortunately does not carry them. So if you are a Nook tablet holder, you would either have to get the books on Audible to listen to them, get them on the Kindle app if you also had the Kindle app, or just buy the physical books and go through them. My personal preferred way of reading these was reading the physical books while listening to them. So that's how I chose to go through this series. And I am insane. So I was listening to it at 3.5 speed, but I did really find that speed was very doable for me. That being said, that's all I really have to say about the Ruthless Boys series. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope you enjoyed it here in this little corner of the internet with me in JBay's Corner. Again, for those of you who are new, I do put out videos every Sunday and Wednesday, so if you do like bookish content, then definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. For those of you that were here just to support me and hang out with me once again, and you've been with me since the OG, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for supporting me as I'm trying to grow this bookish community where we can just sit and chat about books all day long. That being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, whether it's morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. And until next time, I will catch you later. Bye.